All right, today we're diving into a really powerful idea from ancient Greek tragedy. The word is anagnorisis. Now, you might already know it, as a literary term for a big reveal, but what we're about to see is that its original meaning was something way, way bigger, something truly world-shattering, not just a simple plot device.
I mean, who doesn't love a good plot twist, right? That moment in a story where everything just flips on its head. But here's the question. What if that reveal didn't just change the story you were watching? What if it fundamentally changed the world of the character and maybe, just maybe, even our own understanding of what reality is?
Okay, so let's get the textbook definition out of the way first. This comes straight from Aristotle's Poetics. Anagnorisis, it's the recognition scene, the big reveal, right? The moment the hero finds out the shocking truth and the whole story pivots. Sounds pretty straightforward. This is pretty much the version we all get in school.
Well, yeah, but that definition has been, let's say, tamed. The sources we're digging into today make a pretty bold claim that the original power of Anagnorisis, this wild, world-shattering force, it's been filed down. It's been turned into a safe, little technical term that we use for literary analysis.
So, in this first part, we are going to put the teeth back into this concept. We're going to move way beyond just calling it a literary device and start exploring it as an ontological event. What does that mean? It's something that doesn't just give you new information, it completely rewrites the very fabric of your reality.
Okay, let's take the classic example here. Oedipus. Think about it. When he finds out he's killed his father and married his mother, he's not just getting a new piece of trivia. His entire world, his entire identity, just collapses. Everything he thought he knew, father, mother, king, even his own body, his guilt, it all becomes completely incoherent in a single moment, and it all has to be reassembled around this horrible, monstrous new truth.
And this really gets at the core tension, right? On one hand, you've got the tame Aristotelian view. Anagnorisis is just a neat little plot point, safely contained inside the story. But on the other hand, you have the original, wilder Dionysian idea. It's a world-shaking event. And the story is just the technology designed to trigger that state of transformation in you. And this quote just nails it. Recognition isn't just about getting a new piece of information and neatly slotting it into your stable, existing worldview. No, it's the destabilization of that worldview, the complete shattering of the old frame, and the violent eruption of a totally new one. Your old reality just isn't possible anymore.
Okay, so if this thing was so powerful, how did it get so watered down? To really get that, we have to go back to where it all started. We have to look at the original context, the ritual field of the great Dionysia.
See, for the ancient Athenians, this wasn't just a trip to the theater. It wasn't like buying a ticket and watching a movie. Greek tragedy was part of this huge civic and religious festival for Dionysus, the god of chaos, of ecstasy, of dissolving boundaries. We're talking about the entire city getting involved in processions and sacrifices. It was a massive socially orchestrated encounter with the exact same forces of chaos and transformation that the plays were all about.
And this is absolutely crucial. That festival setting, it wasn't just background scenery, it was the active ingredient. Think about it. When you perform a story about a world collapsing, and you do it inside a ritual space dedicated to the god of collapse, you're giving that recognition a real-world weight. It stops being just a story. It becomes real for the audience, not just for the poor characters on stage.
This brings us to a pretty radical way of looking at myth itself. What if these stories, these tragedies, aren't just entertainment? Or, some kind of primitive science? What if they're actually a kind of technology? A blueprint, designed to help us navigate the most intense and difficult transformations a person can possibly go through. This is where the source material brings in this really fascinating idea. It's called the Transformation Program Hypothesis, and the core argument is that we, as humans, might actually be hardwired with a built-in psychological process for profound change. It's like this sequence of dissolving and then rebuilding that can get triggered by major life events. So what does that sequence actually look like? Well, you can think of it kind of like a metamorphosis. First, the old you, the old self, starts to destabilize and dissolve. Then you enter this liminal, chaotic, in-between state. It's confusing. From there, the system starts exploring new possibilities, new ways of being, until finally the self reorganizes around a new structure, a new understanding. And that last step is key. You integrate that new recognition and return to the world. And here's the kicker. This is the big idea. The myths, these great tragedies, they didn't create this experience. They encoded it. They're like a library of user manuals for the human psyche.
maps that chart out the experience of transformation so that other people could navigate those really dangerous psychological waters and come out the other side.
But if this process is so fundamental to being human, where did it go? Why don't we talk about it like this anymore? Well, this next section offers a pretty provocative diagnosis for why we've lost touch with it, and it introduces a powerful and kind of chilling concept: semicide.
Semicide. Let's break that down. It literally means the killing of a sign, or the killing of meaning. It's what happens when a rich, deep, lived experience gets reinterpreted by a big institution. The original meaning isn't decoded or understood on its own terms. No, it's just administratively replaced. It's overwritten with a new, tidier, more manageable category.
And check out this parallel, because it's pretty startling. In literary criticism, a world reorganizing recognition, anagnorisis, gets overridden and flattened into a plot device. Meanwhile, in psychiatry, a meaningful life crisis gets overridden and flattened into a symptom of a disorder.
Do you see the pattern?
The process is exactly the same. The result, in both cases, is domestication, taking something wild and making it tame. So what's going on here is a major trade-off. On one hand, you get legibility. You get a neat, clean category you can file away and understand easily. But that clarity comes at a huge cost. The original, living, world-constituting meaning of the event, it's gone. It's destroyed. You've made the experience manageable, but you've also killed it.
All right, so let's pull all these threads together. It's time to reclaim the idea of Anagnorisis, to restore its original power by seeing it for what it truly is. Not some clever literary trick, but a fundamental process of consciousness itself.
And that brings us to the new definition, the one we've been working our way towards this whole time. Anagnorisis is a threshold process. It's when a reality that you were just tacitly living in, without even thinking about it, suddenly becomes explicit. It's laid bare. And in that single moment of recognition, everything, your consciousness, your identity, your obligations to the world, it all gets reorganized. And once you start to see anagnorisis like that, you realize this isn't just a question for literary critics anymore, is it? It's a question for all of us. It's a civilizational question, really. It's about the very structure of our society, of our institutions.
Which leaves us with a pretty powerful and urgent challenge. In our world, a world that is obsessed with data, with legibility, with efficiency, what kinds of institutions, what kinds of spaces are capable of hosting genuine recognition without domesticating it, without immediately turning it into just information? How do we encounter a truth that shatters our world and not immediately try to tame it? That was the question at the heart of Greek tragedy 2,000 years ago, and it's a question we are very much still struggling with today.